Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Minecraft in Maya. My name is Casanis. Today we're going to be looking at our first new mob, the slime. It's not actually the one everyone wants. Everyone seems to want a creeper, but we're going to actually start with a slime, and it's the slime that I used in my last animation. We're starting with this guy here because he has a very interesting concept called active blend shapes that I want to show you guys today. So without further ado, I'm actually going to begin right away, and we're going to get through this very quickly. I'm not going to cover things like texturing. If I do, it'll be very, very briefly. I'm going to show you the model we're going to need for this guy here. You guys are going to be in charge of texturing once I show you the differences. You guys will be in charge of texturing yourselves. Make sure you watch the texturing video. It's done exactly the same way as the chest or as the character I've already done. Texturing exactly the same way. You're going to follow those tutorials and apply to the slime. You guys already know how to do that now. And then afterwards, we're going to look at the control structure and then finally at the active blend shapes. Okay, so let's begin right away. Make sure you're in polygons, like I am right now, and you're going to say create, and you're going to say polygon primitive cube, go to the little square. I've chosen 4x4x4. It's a square object, so you can choose any size you really want. This is going to make a very small slime. That's kind of what I wanted for the original video, and this thing can be very easily resized, so it doesn't really matter what you choose here. You can just say create. Bam, just like that. And once you do, make sure you rename it right away. This is going to be called slime interior. I'm not going to capitalize that N. Interior, just like that. And I spelled it wrong. Slime interior. I'm trying to rush to get this in, and I'm making mistakes. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this guy here with the object selected, our slime interior selected. We're going to say edit mesh, and we're going to go to bevel, and boom, I'm going to bevel it. Now, a lot of you guys are asking me, I don't want to bevel it. Do I have to? No, you do not. A professional will bevel this. They will not be able to stand seeing those ultra sharp corners on the object. Professionals just don't like that. Modelers don't like that. That's just not what you see in the real world. You don't see sharp edges. Even this is a little bit too sharp. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be fine for what we're doing. But anyway, that is our slime interior. The next thing I want you to do is select it, and I want you to say edit, and I want you to say duplicate, and that's going to make another one of exactly the same size. Rename it to slime exterior. Exterior. Just like that, and let's make it twice the size. So I'm going to make it 2, just like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go panels and take a look at it from the front, and I'm going to make sure that this slime exterior is at its bottom is right here on the origin. That's what I want. So I know I'm going to have to move it up. It was created at 4, so it became 8. That means I have to move it up 4 to make it go right in the bottom because its actual rotation point is in the center. So I'm moving it up 4. We'll put it at the bottom. And I'm going to do the same thing for this one here. But this one I want to be in the center of this cube. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to also move that one up 4. Bam, just like that. Now, the slime interior, we're not going to do much to it. It's really a solid mass. We're going to consider it to be a solid mass that moves around. It is the slime brain. But this exterior, we're actually going to change a little bit. We're going to add a couple of, let me go back to our panels orthographic front. We're going to add a couple of different edge loops to it. So simply go to your edit mesh and go to insert edge loop right there. Boom. And I'm gonna add, let's say I'm gonna add 3. I'm gonna add one here, and one here. So I just kind of like put everything in thirds. That's all I did. I'm gonna do the same thing this way. I'm gonna put one here, and one here. It's just eyeball. It doesn't really matter. And the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go panels, orthographic side, and I'm going to do the same thing on the side. One there, and one there. Okay, everything is done. I like the way this looks. That's enough geometry to make this thing move as a slime might move. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say edit. Oh, sorry. First I'm going to do is I'm going to right click. I'm going to say object mode. I'm going to select this oops, Control Z. I'm going to make sure I'm not in a tool. I'm going to go object mode, select this thing here, and I'm going to say edit, delete by type. I'm going to say delete all by type, and I'm going to say history. And that's going to delete the history on everything we had. So right now, there's all the exterior stuff right here is all gone. Next thing I'm going to make sure I do is I'm going to say edit, I'm going to say modify, and I'm going to say freeze transformations. Now this guy's been frozen there, perfect. And this guy, I'm going to say modify freeze transformations. The modeling is now done. Very, very, very simple. What we're going to look at now is creating the texture. The texture is going to be created in exactly the same way we've always done it before. So you make sure you have a JPEG texture of the slime, and I just chose the slime right out of Minecraft, the default one. I changed it to a JPEG, and now I'm going to actually create my different textures. I'm going to create two different textures, one for the interior and one for the interior, one for the exterior, both using exactly the same texture itself, but I'm going to create two materials. So window, rendering, hyper shader, and it's going to bring up a new window just like that. You're going to click Lambert, and you're going to immediately rename this Lambert to slime int for interior texture, just like that. You are going to go to the attribute editor just like this, and you're going to change the color to a file, and you're going to load in that file. Your slime texture. My slime texture is right here. So just like that, bam. I'm going to do exactly the same thing for my exterior Lambert. Rename to slime exterior texture, just like so. And I'm going to say color. I'm going to add a file just like I did last time. That file is going to be the same slime texture. Slime. You don't have to use the same one if you don't want to. I just using the one out of Minecraft, and there's the interior and there's the exterior, so I'm using that. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to take the exterior texture right here, and we're going to click on it, and we're going to change the value of the transparency. I'm going to put it about halfway, and you can see that right here it's changing already, so it's kind of see-through now. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to assign these things so you can see kind of what it looks like. Let me just move it over like that. I'm going to select this guy here, and I'm going to assign him the exterior texture, just like that. And you can see it's already see-through. I'm going to select this guy here and do the interior slime texture, just like that. And as always, if it's not working appropriately and you cannot see the texture on it, you're going to go to shading. You're going to go down to hardware texturing, click on the little box, make sure it says unfiltered here, and then say apply. And when you do, set. When you do, then you go back and turn on shading, hardware texturing, bam, it's actually going to show up. So right now you can see that it is nice and crisp and clean. Once you actually click hardware texturing, it'll actually show up. And now if I move this thing into place, let me just put it back to 0 so you can see it. 0. You can see that the actual thing is see-through. I can see the interior slime through. Now very, very briefly, I'm going to show you exactly how you're going to do a texture. It's exactly as we did before. You're going to right click and hold. You're going to say face, and you're going to go around. You're going to select all the face. I'm just going to do the interior one. You're going to select all the interior. Go all the way inside. Actually, move this out of the way for now. Move this out of the way. You're going to select this. You're going to say faces, and you're going to say bam, all the faces that you think are the front of this guy. Bam, bam, bam. I'm only going to do this one face, and then you guys are in charge of all the rest. Bam, bam, bam. There's my faces that I've selected. You're going to say create UVs, planar mapping. This is from the Z-axis. Bam, project. And then afterwards, you're going to go to your window. You're going to go to your UV texture editor. Bam, just like that. Open up a new window. If it's blurry, and it is here, you're going to say image, display unfiltered. Bam, nice and crisp and clear. And then I'm just going to resize this stuff just like this, just like this. And I'm going to put it on what I think is the front face, which is this one here. Just like that. Wham. Zoom in there. Scrunch it down. Actually, I'm just going to line it to this one here because they're all the same width. Scrunch it up like that. In place. Perfect. That's my slime, and I'm thinking this one here is the interior, so I'm going to just align it like that. There we go. Take a look in the front. Perfectly aligned. Okay, running out of time in Bandicam, so I'm going to go on now with the second portion, which is actually the controls. I'll be right back. Okay, everyone, we are back, and I went and did a quick and dirty job and textured this guy up. Make sure you guys take a moment and do it properly because you don't want to look like mine. See how mine's all off center and all crappy? Make sure you don't do that. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do on this model, and then it's done. Make sure it's object mode, select it, and I want you guys to go to normals, and I want you to go to soften edge, and you're not going to be able to see much of a difference here. It is slightly smoother and gives it a slightly more jello-like view as well. Do the same thing in this one here. Normals, soften edge, just like that. It kind of makes it look a little more jelly-like, and that's what we want for this slime. Now's the time, if you're going to make the interior bigger or smaller, whatever you want to do, make sure it's all done. And once you are, select each piece, edit, delete all by type. Delete all by type. History. Bam. Everything is gone. So now we have two very nice clean models. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our control system for this guy here. And we're going to just create all the controls, and in the next video we're actually going to take a look at the active blend shapes, just because it's too much for one video. So let's just get the model ready, and then afterwards we're going to be all set. Actually, let's do this right now. I'm going to take this thing here, and I'm going to copy it 3 times. So I'm going to edit, duplicate it, and I'm going to move it up and out of the way, just like that. And I'm going to say, same thing that's in here, I'm going to say edit, duplicate, and move it over, and edit, duplicate one last time, and move it over, because we're going to be using these 3 things for our active blend shapes. Let's rename this right now. Let's rename this one here to squash. I need a squash for certain. What else do I need? A squash and stretch. We'll just do a couple things right now. We'll do a squash and stretch. We'll add a sine wave in here. We'll call this one here sine. I might not actually end up using it. Sine jiggle. I might not actually end up using it because I didn't even use it in the one that the animation I did. And the last one we're going to call let's call it a mass movement, just like that. So squash, sine jiggle, and mass movement. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy here, and we're going to create our controls. Like we always did, we're going to create NURBS polygon. We're going to go down to circle and create ourselves a circle. Make it big enough. Let's make this one here. Let's say 5. That's pretty good. We're going to do that, and I'm actually just going to duplicate it a couple times. Let me make it actually 6 to make sure I can duplicate it properly. 6. I'm going to edit, duplicate it, edit, duplicate, bam, just like that. Take a look at it from the, actually I'm going to leave it down here for now, move it right back to 0, edit, duplicate it again, edit, duplicate, move this one up midway. These are our 3 controls we're going to use for the slime body. And let's go to panels and take a look at it from the front and make sure this is about mid-mass. So right about there is pretty good. Let's rename this one here to CNT underscore C center of gravity for the exterior. We'll call it just like that. And then let's grab another one of these, one down here. Let's call it CNT underscore God node for the exterior. It's actually just the God node for the whole thing, so we'll just call it God node. And the last one, we're going to grab it, and we're going to call it CNT underscore ground. Underscore ground. And that's going to be the ground for the entire thing. Now, with the ground node selected, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say control vertices, and I'm going to choose some of these control vertices. I'm going to choose this one, and I'm going to choose this one, and I'm going to choose, I'm just going to reshape this so I can find it really easy. I'm going to make all these ones here kind of square, and I'm just going to use my scale tool, and oops, not like that, with the middle, scale it like this. Actually, let's scale it up to make it a little easier to see, just like that. Perfect. I'm going to right click on this guy now and say object mode. Object, select this guy here. This is my ground node here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select my control vertices. I'm going to select this one. Actually, I'm going to select this one. 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 And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to scale it out. Just like that. So that's going to be our ground node. That's our God node. Done. Same. And this one here, I'm just going to square it off as well. Let me see. Control vertices. You guys can do this any way you want. You don't have to copy what I'm doing. This is just me making my controls. I'm going to make all these ones here kind of square. Let me make this one a little smaller. There, that's it. Okay, so that is our main ones for the actual body, and we're actually going to need one now for the interior guy as well. So I'm going to create one more, edit, I'm going to go to create, NURBS primitive, circle, bam. I'm going to move that up somewhere in the midpoint, panels, orthographic front. I'm going to move that up. So it's somewhere in the midpoint right around there, and I'm going to scale it up to, let's say, 5. Let's see how that looks. Let's make it 6 to make sure it sticks out a bit. 6, and I'm going to leave it rounded like that. I'm going to leave it rounded, and I'm going to call this one here. I'm going to call this one here CNT underscore. I'll just call it interior. We're only going to have one control in the interior, so I'll just call it interior like that. Okay, perfect. I'm going to each one of these edit. Modify freeze transformation. This one here, same thing, freeze transformation. Do that on each one, freeze the transformations, modify freeze transformations. Each one of these will be zeroed out that way. And modify freeze transformations. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to build, lastly, we're going to build our, I'm going to build 3 more, and I'm not going to really use these yet, but I'm going to say right now, I'm going to do them right now. I'm going to say create. I'm going to say NURBS primitive, and I'm going to say circle. Bam. And I'm going to move it on the outside just like this. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. 90. Just like that. And I'm going to call this one here CNT mass bottom. Mass bottom. But I'm going to use a little m to be cool. Mass bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to look at it from the side panel, panels, orthographic, side, and I'm going to duplicate this, edit, duplicate, and I'm going to move it up to the midpoint, so right about there, and I'm going to duplicate it again, edit, duplicate, and I'm going to move it up to right near the top just like that. The top one is going to be called mass top, and the midpoint is going to be called mass mid. Mass mid, just like that. And I'm going to lastly take all of these guys here, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to say edit, and I'm going to say group. Where's my group? Boom, just like that. I'm going to change this whole thing to I'm going to change this thing to called adjustment node underscore active controls. Perfect, just like that. I'm also going to add one more thing. I'm going to add to this center one, this one here, the center interior. I'm going to add a couple of things to it. I'm going to add modify. I'm going to add attributes. Add attribute right here. And I'm going to add a couple of different things. I'm going to add an attribute that I'm going to call squash. Call it squash. I'm going to make the minimum -1, and the maximum I'm going to make 1, and the default will be 0. It's always 0. And I'm going to say add, and you're going to see it appear right here. I'm going to add another one that I'm going to call jiggle, and we'll do the same thing. Make them each -1 and 1 and 0. Actually, I'm only going to add these 2. That's all we're actually going to need. Okay, boom. So I have squash and jiggle there. It is actually on the interior control, because the interior control will always be with us. Okay, everybody, so I'm actually going to cut this off right here because we are out of time again. So we're back, and all I'm going to do now is create the control structure that you're going to use to move this guy around. Really, really simple, and then we're going to go on to part B. So you're going to have the complete control structure done. You're going to open up your outliner under Window Outliner, and it's going to open up a new window. Bam, that's going to look like this. You are going to identify, first of all, I want you to identify what you're going to need is you're going to need the different exterior slimes and that kind of stuff. So the slime interior, you're going to click on it. You're going to middle mouse drag that and drop it on the control interior. You're going to find then the slime exterior, and you're going to middle mouse that and drag it down to the center of gravity exterior, just like that. You're going to find your adjustment node for your active controls. You're going to click on it, and you're going to drop that into control interior. So that's going to be following the control interior. Then you're going to take this entire thing, the control interior, You're going to drop that with your middle mouse button, drag it and drop it into the center of gravity exterior. Select center of gravity exterior, drag and drop it into control ground, drag and drop into control God. Now what that's done basically is built a system that once you select the actual once you actually select the control God node, you're going to be able to move this entire thing around, and you're going to be able to put it bloop, in place wherever you want to in the scene. You can also use the same thing, the control God node, and you're going to be able to just scale this entire thing up. So you're going to be able to make a bigger and smaller slime. And you see how the entire thing scales appropriately. So that's basically the control structure. That is the model, the texture, and the control structure for our actual slime. Right now, it doesn't do all the things we want it to do. We're going to have to add in these guys here, which are going to be our simple yet effective active blend shapes. Okay, everyone, so I'm going to see you in part B of this episode. Talk to you all very soon.